All right, let's jump right into this. Today's explainer takes us into a deeply resonant fable that beautifully mirrors the endless, exhausting hustle of our modern lives. It's the story of a young boy named Elias. Now, I want you to picture a quiet, idyllic village just perfectly nestled between rolling green hills and a winding river. Sounds incredibly peaceful, right? Well, Elias was anything but peaceful. He was a kid completely defined by this relentless drive. He was always chasing something. I want you to imagine, just for a second, standing out in an open field and physically trying to grasp glowing currents of air as they rush past you. You know the feeling, right? You see them, you feel them, but the harder you close your fists, the emptier your hands become. Well, that was Elias's absolute obsession. He wasn't just playing around out there, he was literally trying to catch the uncatchable. He was totally fixated on possessing the very things that are inherently designed to just slip right through our fingers. It's actually fascinating to track how Elias's pursuits escalated over time. This wasn't some fleeting childhood phase, it was a lifelong habit that just kept building. At 5 years old, he chased butterflies in the fields. Makes sense. But by 10, he had moved on to chasing birds and even shadows. And by 15, he was trying to chase the wind itself. You can so clearly see the progression here, moving from the tangible to the completely intangible. He was constantly leveling up his impossible pursuits, always reaching for that higher, unattainable goal. Well, as you might expect, the other folks in the village didn't quite get it. They'd often laugh as he sprinted past, just shaking their heads and saying, "There goes Elias again, chasing what he cannot catch." But the crazy thing is, Elias didn't mind the mockery at all. To him, the thrill of the chase was the whole shebang. The running, the reaching, the pursuing, it had literally become his entire identity. He was so consumed by the hunt that he completely ignored how impossible the prize actually was. But every great fable needs a catalyst, right? And ours comes in the form of a mysterious old traveler who suddenly rolls into the village. He's described really vividly. He had these kind eyes, a long gray beard, and he carried this walking stick that was meticulously carved with all these strange symbols. The village welcomed the guy warmly, giving him food and a place to rest. But for Elias, this traveler was an irresistible puzzle. His endless curiosity was immediately sparked by this man who looked like he had literally seen the entire world. So Elias immediately walks right up to the man and asks the big question burning in his mind. "Have you ever chased the wind?" The traveler just smiles and says, "Many times." Elias, totally wide-eyed at this point, asks, "Well, did you catch it?" And here's where we hit the real core cognitive dissonance of our story. The traveler chuckles and delivers this incredibly profound piece of wisdom. Not everything worth chasing is meant to be caught. Zero. Yep, a big, fat zero. That is exactly how many winds the traveler had successfully caught in his long life. But he told Elias that he learned something far more valuable through the actual process of not catching it. Well, Elias just couldn't wrap his head around this. He was baffled. He was so confused by the idea of an unsuccessful chase having any value whatsoever that he lay completely awake that entire night, just spinning his wheels, the traveler's words echoing relentlessly in his head. By the next morning, that confusion had mutated into sheer, stubborn determination. He declared, "I will catch the wind," and he set out on this frantic, exhausting mission to prove the old man wrong. He ran out into the open fields, arms stretched completely wide. He chased those invisible currents, desperately trying to grab hold of the air. Hours passed, the sun beat down, and Elias grew unbelievably exhausted. But he just refused to quit. He climbed a high hill where the gusts were stronger, jumping and grasping at the swirling air until finally, entirely frustrated, he just collapsed to the ground and cried out, "Why can't I catch it?" Right at that exact moment of total defeat, the old traveler just kind of appears beside him. Elias, still breathless, insists he almost had it, that he just needs a little more time. But the traveler stops him and asks this incredibly challenging question. "Elias, tell me, why do you want to catch the wind?" And honestly, we should ask ourselves that too. Look at your own life. What impossible things are you running after until you're completely breathless, simply because you feel this burning compulsion to capture them? Elias hesitates. He realizes maybe for the first time he doesn't actually have a good answer. He admits he wants it just because it's there, because it moves, and because it feels like a prize he's supposed to win. The traveler asks what he'd even do with the wind if he caught it. Elias looks down at his empty hands and realizes he has absolutely no idea. The traveler smiles so warmly and tells him, "Sometimes we chase things not because we need them, but because we believe we should have them." Then, the traveler does something really simple.
He directs Elias's gaze downward, away from the empty, swirling sky and down toward the warm, solid, everyday village below them. He tells Elias to look carefully, and when Elias finally stops looking up and really looks around, he sees it. He sees kids playing, farmers working the earth, families sharing meals, neighbors just helping each other out. The traveler looks at him and says, "While you were chasing the wind, life was happening all around you."
You can tell Elias feels something shift inside him, but he still quietly admits, "But chasing is what I'm good at." The traveler simply replies, "Then chase something that matters." And as he begins to walk away, he leaves Elias with this absolute gem of advice. Whenever you stop chasing what you can't hold, you'll find what you truly need. This right here is the pivot point of the whole fable. It's the exact moment the light bulb goes on, and Elias realizes his focus has been entirely backwards. Over the next few days, Elias completely flips the script. He drops the abstract chasing and replaces it with concrete, grounded acts of caring. He notices the village baker struggling, so what does he do? He steps in to help carry the heavy sacks of flour. He spots a sad little girl sitting all alone by the river, so he just sits down beside her and makes her laugh. He sees his mom working tirelessly, so he rolls up his sleeves and starts assisting her at home. For literally the first time in his entire life, Elias stopped chasing and started caring. He traded that stressful illusion of control for the very real beauty of connection. And a really strange thing happened to him when he made this shift. He felt happier than he ever had before. This wasn't that fleeting, anxious adrenaline rush of the chase. This was a deep, profound, and sustained happiness that only comes from actual human experience. And that brings us to the beautiful climax of the story. One evening as the sun is setting, painting the sky in these gorgeous shades of orange and pink, Elias goes back to the exact same hill where he had collapsed in exhaustion. The breeze brushes gently against his face. But this time, he doesn't reach for it. He doesn't run. He simply closes his eyes and smiles. He whispers, "I understand now." The wind was never something to be caught. It was something to be felt. So how does this allegory apply to us? Think about our default setting in the modern world. We are constantly chasing to possess. We run ourselves ragged, going after perfection, chasing societal approval, or hunting down these impossible abstract dreams, just desperately trying to hold them in our hands. But the antidote the traveler offered is living to experience. That's found right here in the present moment, in tangible acts of caring for the people around us, and in a deep, real appreciation for the solid reality that already exists right in front of us. Elias had a massive epiphany on that hill. He realized he had spent so much of his time desperately chasing what he didn't have that he had almost completely missed absolutely everything that he did have. He practically sleepwalked through his own life. So if there's one thing to take away from our explainer today, it's this. Not everything worth chasing is meant to be caught, but everything worth living is meant to be felt. Life isn't some prize to be captured and locked in a box, guys. It's a current to be experienced. So I want to leave you with a thought to really chew on as you go about the rest of your day. Take a hard look at your own schedule, your ambitions, your daily stressors. What wind are you chasing right now? What impossible thing are you totally exhausting yourself trying to hold on to? And more importantly, if you look down at the village below, what beautiful, tangible moments are you missing out on while you're chasing it? Seriously, stop reaching for just a second. Close your eyes and just feel the breeze.